GMS family, roll up. Show about to start in a few minutes. Taya, Queen Kels, King Lukey, JG, Bianca, what's happening? GMS fam, what's happening? Everybody y'all having a good Sunday first and foremost, because I know we got to get back to the week, Monday's tomorrow, but who cares? Y'all having a good Sunday right now? Is everybody having a good Sunday? That's all I care about, man. Passing good energy, good vibes, motherfucker. I hope everybody's doing well today. Hope everybody had a great Sunday. Hope everybody's in good spirits, man. So look. Now, I don't know if you guys can see it. I know I can because I'm on, of course I'm on my own channel. But seems like when we had our Joe Budden conversation here on YouTube a few days ago, them motherfuckers decided to take it down. So I don't know what it was about. I think one of these random YouTubers who post up the content go around flagging other people's videos so their video can be the only one seen, because I know I didn't play any copyrighted shit, because of course you see I'm still live. If I would have had some copyright shit on my shit, they would have struck my channel again and I would have been done for 2 weeks. But some random YouTuber struck my video or some shit and tried to say that I had something in the video when I didn't. YouTube is a funny game, man. Like, they really, really, really be on some weird shit. And I don't know, man. I don't know what the fuck. Is going on with them. But hey, man, we're gonna continue to do this shit. My safest bet is to not play any clips, basically. So, but we will show visuals, and that's a fact. We will show visuals, and I will not stop showing visuals. But anyway, so if you weren't there when we had our conversation about the Joe Budden shit, if you if you were there, we talked a lot about what was going on, and people basically I didn't fight it. I said fuck it. We keep rolling. We still have the ability to make content, so I'm not stressing it. But when we did the Joe episode, we the people that were there heard Joe and basically pulled out the situation that Joe is a boss in this situation and Maul and Rory are employees, right? And from a standpoint of looking at it through business and not just because this is your friend, it's like if Joe runs the shit and he's the boss of you guys' entire platform, and he runs and he has the ability to look at the books when you guys are just employees, then I guess you can't get mad at that, right? But what we found out yesterday, because Rory and Mal posted a response. I don't know if you guys got to watch that because they put, well, of course you did, because YouTube niggas posted the fucking content on YouTube, but I don't see their fucking shit getting taken down. They post a whole hour and something long video of somebody else's content, but their shit is up and their shit is getting hundreds of thousands of views. But okay, you know, that's just how YouTube is. I don't know how these people get away with it. I'm not gonna try to take that risk. But either way, they posted a response, and now this kind of brings me back because I remember something Bianca said. Bianca, you know, GMS motherfucking family was like, don't just listen to Joe. And honestly, I never just listen to one side. I like to hear other sides because, you know, here's the thing. Regardless of if Joe is the one that brings in more viewers because of his name, people watch the Joe Budden podcast for all three of them. Of course, you're going to have your people who are going to be like, oh, I don't watch the show for Rory and Mal. That is a very few. That is very few. And the majority of the people who watch the Joe Budden podcast watch it for all three of them. Me being one of those people, I didn't just tune into the Joe Budden podcast for Joe Budden. I like to watch it in its entirety for, you know, its full cast, its full everyone. Everybody has their own input. When you see good chemistry, you tune into some shit, especially when it's more than just one person. Now, first thing we found out was the fact that Rory didn't just come around in episode 20 or just like randomly pop up, you know? From what Rory said, if you guys watched, Rory decided to reveal that it was him who put the first episode out of the Joe Budden podcast on SoundCloud, also being the one to, I believe, find the space for them to record. And before we say that, I would like to address one thing, because every time something happens business-wise or something gets destroyed because, you know, Joe Budden decides he wants to just destroy it and move forward or whatever he's trying to do. What up, Jay? There's always somebody left burnt behind it. And we could talk about many things, but one thing that stuck out to me was the Marissa Mendez situation. If you don't know, I believe the first 70 episodes of the Joe Budden podcast, when it first started, before it was Joe Budden podcast, it was I'll Name This Podcast Later, or whatever the start of the podcast was. A young lady named Marissa Mendez was a part of the show. Now, during this time, I believe this was when Drake and Joe Budden's beef kind of sparked up, and Drake was responding to Joe in songs and shit, whatever the case may be, right? Some emotional shit happened, some personal shit happened, and because Marissa didn't just do the podcast, she also worked at Hot 97. I guess Joe used the excuse of conflict of interest because the people at Hot 97 kind of have a bad relationship with Joe Budden, so to speak. It's an iffy relationship, not bad. It's just very iffy, and people over there really don't. They either fuck with him or they don't fuck with him. It's in between with Joe Budden over there. Joe Budden decided to fire Marissa Mendez through text, which was fucked up, because if this is somebody that you fuck with, now this isn't just his host. Marissa Mendez lived in Joe's house with Mal. Mal lived there as well. She said Joe has some big ass crib in Jersey, and Maul lived there, she lived there. So it's more than just somebody who he just worked with. He fired this person through text because of some emotional shit that he was feeling in his head about some Drake shit, apparently. That's allegedly, that's what she talked about. Till this day, she still doesn't know why he technically fired her, because she technically didn't do anything wrong. Now, fast forward to this situation. Joe Budden podcast starts getting more recognition. The guys feel like Joe, you know, the chemistry is there, right? But I guess apparently since 2019, or probably maybe before, because Rory says probably before that, but 2019 is more memorable because that's when a lot of the fuck shit apparently started to happen. Well, before I get to that, let me just clear up one thing. The whole employee narrative got deaded yesterday because we found out that there's no contract that says Joe is the boss and Maul and Rory are employees. What actually is the contract is a partner percentage contract. Because Joe brings in more of the fans, his name is more notable, and he has more of the pool, he's the one that's going to get the bigger percentage. So let's just say, you know, when the Spotify deal came, let's just say Joe got 60% and Maul and Rory take 20 each, right? That's basically what I'm talking about. Which in business is fair because of the weight that you pull and what you bring to the table. Spotify came to Joe because they wanted Joe to do the pod. Joe's name at this point was hot. You know, just hopping off Complex. He was still doing the Joe Budden podcast, but it was like they were, you know, he was doing Complex, all this other shit. They weren't really trying to get Rory and Maul involved. And I think in that situation, I feel like Joe knew he held more weight than them, but at the same time, I guess in a friend way, he didn't want them to be left behind because of the fact that they all gelled together on the show. It wouldn't make any sense to just pop up one day with a Spotify deal and be like, yep, Rory and Maul are gone. They're out of the show because Spotify just wanted me. Now, that would really look crazy. But the Spotify deal came. They got the deal. They split that however they split that. But they aren't employees. They aren't employees at all. They all have a deal where they share a percentage of everything that comes in for the podcast. Now, let's get to the 2019 shit. Since the deal, the guys have been trying to get accounting. Now, I remember Maul talking about when he came back to the show after they took their hiatus that it wasn't about the money. But at the same time, if you're getting jerked around, I mean, there's no moral, you know, high ground to take when it comes to you being fucked over for your money. Like, that's your shit. You're entitled to the shit that you get, and you shouldn't be jerked around, and you shouldn't be robbed for the shit that you earn. And if you feel that way, you should speak up on it. It doesn't matter your position on the show. It doesn't matter how much weight you pull on the show. If this is a business and you are supposed to get a percentage of everything that comes in on the show, then yes, you should be entitled to see what's coming in and what's going out so that you know that you're properly getting paid what you're supposed to get paid under contract. So I understand that. The fact that Joe hasn't said that or even made that clear what their deal is before trying to go off and say, I don't have to show you shit, kind of shows where Joe's head is at when it comes to like how he feels about the people that are so-called beneath him. If I'm supposed to see some shit, if I'm supposed to know how much I'm making, it shouldn't be a problem for you to show me the accounting and let me know that I'm getting like paid the right way instead of you just telling people, oh, I'm overpaying these niggas. Now, Maul brought up something interesting because he said during one of their conversations when it was like them just talking about the numbers and the percentages, the guys was talking about percentages. Joe, Rory, and Maul all talking about the percentages of what they would make from, a certain deal. And when they brought up a percentage, they named the number for that percentage. Joe, I guess not understanding percentages and numbers, was like, I guess jokingly, like in a joking manner, so to speak, was like, I'll never pay you guys that. That's crazy. And they were like, well, that's how much the percentage is. And it was like, oh. So I think from that standpoint and just kind of that instant, because Maul said that kind of that instance kind of played in his head after all this shit happened because it was a red flag to him. That would be a red flag to me. We not talking about us being overpaid. We're talking about the exact percentage of what it would be if they were to get a certain deal. And Joe just kind of making that comment kind of just was off-putting. Now, one thing Rory said that stuck out to me was the fact that every time he tried to bring up anything that had to do with like accounting or the business side of everything, he was met with hostility and just straight anger and yelling and just going off and shit. Every time he would bring up something that had to do with the business, making it seem like he shouldn't be a part of the business side of what the fuck was going on when all three of them are involved in the Joe Budden podcast. Those are red flags. That's like when you dating somebody and you like see some shit, you see some weird shit, and then all of a sudden you try to like ask them a simple ass question about it and they blow up. And every time you try to ask a question, they blow up. It's like if you blow the fuck up, those are red flags. What are you constantly blowing up for? Why can't we have a simple ass conversation about some shit? You know what I'm saying? That looks like you're hiding something. In my opinion, I think the guys genuinely wanted to know what they were making, what they were bringing into the show, because Joe was getting deals. There was a Cash App deal. I don't know what other ad deals they had, but basically in that contract, those guys are entitled, every single one of them, Joe, Rory, and Maul, they're all entitled to a percentage of everything that comes into the show. That is in contract. And if that's not their contract, because those guys said this is what they said last night. Rory and Maul both said what their contract was. Joe hasn't disputed that. Nobody from the podcast has disputed that. I haven't seen Spotify dispute that. I haven't seen anybody dispute that. As a matter of fact, I didn't hear anybody say anything about the details of their contract beside outside people. Academics is really the only person who has driven the narrative down everybody's fucking face that these guys are employees. So when I guess their truth came out about what the contract actually was, and I don't see anybody disputing that. I don't see Joe saying that's not the case. I don't see anybody proving these guys wrong. Then, okay, we clearly have a problem now. Because we're not looking at employees. We're looking at two people who are being treated as employees who aren't. And who are talking about simple shit. The thing is, the reason why I don't think Rory and Maul are lying is because what they're talking about is something that's simple. When you really think about the conversation and the shit that they talked about, you have to understand, literally only talking about accounting and just trying to see numbers when you're in a deal, this is simple shit. They're not talking about no like, yo, this shit happened behind the scene. Joe did this to me and Joe did that to me. Like, they have their stories of, like, you know, Joe being disrespectful and whatever the fuck case may be when Joe has said some shit. But it wasn't like they, you know, fought each other behind the scenes and blacked each other's eyes and shit, and, you know what I'm saying, disrespected each other's families and shit. Like, if you friends with motherfuckers for a long time, y'all gonna get into it. So that shit, it's not that important to me, the fact that these motherfuckers have gotten into it behind the scenes. That's just regular shit. But if we're talking about something as simple as these dudes wanting to see the numbers to know that they're getting paid the right way instead of just being told, yo, we're overpaying you. And then on top of that, when you talked about, Joe said that, this was off to me. I'm not no accountant. I'm not even fucking great with numbers and no shit like that. But it sounded off to me when Joe was talking about the accountant shit, and when he said he sent them a spreadsheet that was laid out so beautifully for them and all this shit, and showed them what the percentages and what they should be getting paid with their percentage opposed to what they're actually making. All this shit. I'm like, that's weird. Why would you have to, like, pull out a spread? Where's the accounting in that? For some reason, I just felt that way. I was like, I don't know why he's talking about the fact he sent them and he laid some shit out for them. I'm like, I wouldn't want you to if you were a part of that, why would you be a part of that? Joe said, I laid some shit out. You didn't have to lay shit out. If you have people who do accounting, they should be able to print some shit up that is authentic and give it to those guys to show them what really is going on. These guys got an Excel spreadsheet. According to them, allegedly, Mal and Rory got an Excel spreadsheet with numbers on it showing them what they were getting paid, what they should be getting paid, all this other shit. Red flag. But see, let's talk about some real shit real quick. If you are in a position that you're friends with somebody, right, who is in like a higher position than you. So like if you're somebody like a Rory or a Mal and your friend is Joe Budden, you are going to lean more towards you guys' relationship as friends and the loyalty and the respect behind it than you are thinking about the business, which, to their fault, that is what kind of fucked them up in the end with thinking that, you know what I'm saying, their relationship with Joe would trump all the business shit, all the business problems that they were having. She said, why do they need to ask Joe to see a case? Exactly. And the narrative that was pushed that they were employees is the reason why people were trying to make it seem like they didn't have the right to see him. But once it was released, or once they shared their side of things and said what their contract actually was, now you have the question of, why did they have to ask Joe? And then on top of that, Rory, this is the fucked up part. I want to talk about this because Rory details some crazy shit. Rory's paying for a firm that handles accounting, and when he went to somebody separate to look at the accounting, they pointed out the fact that what was in it was wrong. And there was a alleged $400,000 mistake. Listen to me. So a $400,000 mistake, when you are dealing with people who definitely aren't making as much as the fucking head host of the show, that's a lot of money. And it was over a span of years. A span of 6 years, I believe. $400,000 mistake. I don't know how that was a mistake, but it usually turns out to be a mistake on accounting's part. So when he brought that to the people who made the mistake, what up, Spank? They confirmed, yes, we made a mistake. They confirmed that they made a mistake. And even then, Rory didn't snap off. Rory said that he called Joe to let him know that these people made a mistake. And Joe spazzed on him. Apparently. Seems like every time Rory called Joe, Joe spazzed on him whenever Rory had a conversation or tried to have a conversation with him about the business aspect of the show. This is what's coming from Rory. And once again, I have not seen Joe combat that at all. And it's not like we can't sit here and educationally guess that Joe is that type of person. I mean, we can kind of see that in his personality. Joe's very turnt at times. Joe can get very loud and get very defensive and very emotional. Now, the fact that the accountant was all over the place and the fact that they couldn't figure out what was going on in the span of these years while still doing the show shows that these guys' loyalty was to the show more than it was trying to figure out the money aspect. Because anybody in this situation who felt off about them getting paid what they think they should have been getting paid or think that the money's off or some shit that's hard. That's hard for people to continue on working for people like that. Jay said, anyone messing with Joe in business better record anytime they do business to protect themselves. Yeah. People need to stop acting like because he a loose cannon, he got hands. Nah, for real, Joe, we know Joe can talk crazy to motherfuckers. So it's not, and what does Rory have to lie about? Like, if that really happened, I could tell shit like that has happened. The way that the way him and Rory's relationship shifted through the years during the show, and then how basically you saw it ultimately end. Maul even said himself, like they both said during the show, that it got to the point where they both were like, yo, we don't even know this nigga no more. And talking about how he's switching up. Now, I see Maul talking about the fact he be wearing a myriad hats and shit like that. That's cool, whatever. You can switch your style up. That's not nothing to look at somebody crazy for. If you switch your style up because you getting money, that's what happens. Like, nigga, I'm not finna be wearing the same Burlington Coat Factory clothes I got on, nigga. I'm gonna try to go and get some cool shit. You know what I'm saying? If I got the bread. But the way you talk to people and the way that you talk to the people who you so-called care about and give a fuck about and love, like this is somebody that has been around Joe for a long time. And he has the right to say, man, I don't know this nigga no more. If he starts to see a dramatic change in somebody. That's what happens. Now, I don't like that aspect of shit because I understand how that is. I've had a few people in my life switch up because of their position in life or whatever the fuck they got going on. And like start to try to talk to you a certain way because they feel like they can and because they feel like it's like, yo, you need me type shit. You need me around. You need this podcast. You need my name to be attached to my name for you to succeed type shit. So what are you going to say to me? Because I can fire you. Fire? The fact that Joe thinks he can fire someone who's in a partnership with him in a deal, that shows you his mentality towards the people he called his friends. Now, this is when you can talk about the friend aspect and the business aspect. First of all, don't get into business with your friends if you already know that these motherfuckers is toxic. They know Joe is a toxic human being. They seen his record when it comes to the different business outlets and different things that he's done in his life and the things that he has torn down and crumbled because of his own selfish wants and needs. Which you can say in some of those instances, Joe was getting done wrong and he had to pull back on some shit. Those could possibly be the instances in some of those situations, but not all the time. You know what I'm saying? The industry can only do you wrong for so long. Like Joe is making money off the podcast game. And a lot of people's misconception, when you're friends with somebody, you would think that they will fuck with you or treat you accordingly because that's your people and you known them. You was in the mud with them. You was broke with them. You was in jail with them. This is stuff that Maul is saying. He said he never thought Joe would be sitting up somewhere on a podcast talking crazy about him because of their history. But I think that was a big, pure lesson to Maul that not everybody really is your people. Not everybody really fucks with you like that. People sometimes will fuck with you for a long time just because you're just somebody who tolerates them. Joe seems like a person who has done a lot of things in his life that were toxic and turmoil type shit. And motherfuckers just had to kind of stick behind him. And I think Maul was one of those people that stuck behind him when everybody was falling back from him. Because if Maul has been around Joe for as long as he says he's been around Joe, and you know the things that Joe has went through in his life, all the controversy, all the other shit, then you know for a fact Maul has stuck around with this nigga through some shit. So I don't blame Maul for feeling like Joe would never turn his back on him. But sometimes money will do that. Sometimes money will make people feel like they don't need people because they have money. Money will make you feel like you can disrespect the motherfuckers around you who will hold you down if the money wasn't there. Which was somebody who Maul was. Maul said people tried to paint a picture of him as somebody who was like broke down on his luck, homeless or some shit, and Joe had to take him in. When that wasn't the case, according to Maul. I didn't see that disputed. And I'm really curious to see what Joe is going to say, if Joe even responds to this, because the one thing I honestly, the one thing I want to hear from Joe is what their deal is. Is Rory and Maul right about their deal? You said now Maul got beef with Consequence for telling a true story? What Consequence say, man? Consequence, man, chill. Please tell me Consequence didn't say no shit about that. Because if you you telling a true story, what the fuck are you mad about? And I heard him talk about it. He said no disrespect to Cons. This is just some real shit. He said, I think Maul was talking about Joe went from $40 Yankee caps to $300 Amiri trucker hats. That's what money will do. If you can afford it, man, and you want to look sharp. Of course, like people, that's another thing. Like I thought Joe was kind of playing on the, like people saying he dressed weird. Like the first time he came outside with motherfucking pointed toe shoes and a motherfucking Raiden hat and a fucking long ass trench coat. I felt like people thought immediately like Joe was just like trolling or something. Like, oh yeah, I got money now, I'm gonna start dressing different. But then you start seeing Joe in this shit every week, posting pictures in this shit, and it was like, oh, I guess this is Joe's new style. You said Joe apologizes to them on his new podcast with Ish and Ice. Really? I didn't see that. I did not see that. I've been trying to stay off social because I don't like spoilers anymore now that I do these shows. I want to get tell me what Consequence said. Do I have to look this shit up? That would be bullshit. What did Consequence say? I don't know what the fuck niggas think is going on over here. Just remember what you said, Ma. You taking credit for lining me up, then you gonna have to live it now. Joe can't save you two bitch ass niggas because he couldn't save himself. This is disrespectful as fuck, and I am your senior in the streets and in this music shit. Ask Webb who birthed Joe Budden. Y'all niggas been on my dick for 8 years sending subs. Your man got smacked and y'all can't shake it. But guess what? You realizing he pussy like I said he was, but guess what? I took my motherfucking 5 minutes and ate whatever came with it. Meanwhile, y'all got robbed by your own guy. No gun, no knife, no nothing. My name is not to be mentioned again by niggas who ain't even got they paper straight. Whoa. That's what Khan said, y'all. And I want to play the audio of what Maul said, but of course, YouTube is some bitch ass niggas, and I can't do that. Damn, I wish I could. Damn, I wish I could. You motherfuckers. Send to your IG Joe's apology. Let me see this shit. See, I can't even play that. They'll strike my shit, and I'm not finna have this video taken down. But I'm gonna watch it later. I'm gonna listen to it later. But yeah, man. First of all, Consequence, chill out, man. Once again, no disrespect, but this man is dealing with some health problems. Consequence is. I don't know if you guys have seen Consequence in a while, but he's looking very frail, and I don't mean that as a joke or anything like that. I mean that for real. Like, I wouldn't be on IG talking crazy or telling somebody they gotta like back up some shit when I'm like literally like dying, because that's not. I mean, you should really be focusing on your shit. That's just all I'm saying. Like, and I don't honestly, like I said, that's no disrespect at all. Like, I wish Khan's the best. Like, I still play a few Khan songs till this day. Like, some of my favorite old school fucking rap songs are from Consequence, motherfucker. The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, motherfucking. What's the other one? What's the other one? I forgot the other one. I'm sorry, but I still listen to some Khan songs, man. So I say that with respect. Just chill out, nigga. Gold. It's Anthony M. the Professor. Oh, you got a new name on here. Your name Gold, huh? What up, Ant? Yeah, he does. So that's what it is. Yeah, he has lupus, man, and diabetes. Like, he's really like he's dealing with some health issues, man. And this is not the time to be out here trying to like stay, hot on social media, man. Like, this is not one of those things. And I don't think Maul came with any disrespect with what he said. Like, I mean, shit. Shit. But you know how niggas is, man. Niggas is sensitive, man. Motherfuckers get mad at shit for no reason and want to, post some shit because somebody mentioned their name. It's okay. And Rory and Maul are a hot name right now on social media. They're trending, so I would see why he would want to post that. But anyway, what we get to later on in that conversation, because Maul started to really get mad at the fact that Joe started to speak to him differently. One thing that did stick out to me was when Maul actually confronted Joe on the show when they came back. When Rory and Maul came back to the show after their hiatus, he spoke to Joe and said, "It fucked me up that you told me that this podcast was none of my business." Like, he said, "You told me to my face that this podcast was none of my business." And Joe looked stuck when he said that, almost. Like, Joe almost like he didn't know what to do, and he almost had to just say something to say it without looking like a total, complete asshole. And then he fucking said that he probably shouldn't have said that. And I'm like, that kind of shows you that Joe just be talking to talk. And he has some type of superiority complex over those two guys. And at that point, it's like, when you're having, like, that's the one thing. When you're dealing with the podcast and you guys are talking about trying to see accounting, you're trying to see the money behind it. That's the business aspect behind it. Deal with it in a business manner. But when you're having conversations that are private and personal conversations, like them talking about them having a conversation in the backyard when that shit happened. For Joe to say that the podcast isn't none of your business, that's a personal thing to say to somebody who you have a partnership with. That's you telling somebody, shut the fuck up talking to me about some shit that's not your business, even though you know it's their business. You just feel like, yo, I'm Joe Budden. It's the Joe Budden podcast. These companies are coming to me with the deals. I have to split it with y'all. So what I say goes. Instead of looking at it as a partnership, even though they make a less percentage than him. Joe said, now I really honestly, I don't believe Rory and Mal were getting overpaid for their position. I think that was Joe's way of telling them not to pay it or not to ask him about the books again. It's an easy way to try to tell people not to pay attention to their motherfucking books. If you're telling somebody you're overpaying them. I'm overpaying you guys. And then on top of that, this is money that they haven't seen before. I'm just guessing. This isn't this money that they have got presented to them by these different deals. This is money that Mal, Rory, and Joe haven't seen before. So it would be easy for them to believe that they're being overpaid when they haven't seen this much money before. Anthony said, Joe is a sociopath and a narcissist, deadly combination. It means you're super selfish and you lack compassion or empathy, which is another reason why I look at his response to respect way differently than I did when I first saw that podcast when they came back. When Mal asked him, do you think you owe us respect? And Joe was like, I owe strangers respect. To deflect from the actual question and try to make it an everybody thing instead of just being like, yo, yeah, I owe you guys respect being my friends and being the people that I fuck with, who I work with and who help build this platform with me. Because can we please be honest? If it was just Joe Budden doing a podcast by himself, this would not be the same shit. This would not be the same shit. The Joe Budden podcast would not be as popular as it is today. If it was just Joe Budden. He would have some popularity behind the show. He'll have his little spaz moments, his little vein popping out his neck, turning red, sweating, hiccuping. But it wouldn't be the same. Now, that's where I feel like the response to respect came a little. It showed Mal a lot because, like I said, Mal is the one that has been around Joe the longest out of all those guys. And if he feels that way, I can take Mal's word for it because of who he is to Joe and their history behind the shit. Just to be honest, I wouldn't that. Their response actually showed a lot, and the fact that they didn't try to go in and disrespect Joe the way that Joe was going in on them, which is another reason why I feel like Joe had to go on his shit and apologize. Apparently, he said, "Who next? The Breakfast Club, the Plastic Cup Boy." I feel like the Breakfast Club been on the brink of a breakup for a long ass time because of the fact that there's just been turmoil through the years with different shit that's been going on. Because now Charlamagne is the face of the Breakfast Club, and Envy and Angela. Do y'all know how the Breakfast Club started? Does anybody here know how the Breakfast Club started? Somebody reached out to DJ Envy. DJ Envy was on Hot 97 for a minute, but then he switched over and had to get a job with the Breakfast Club. They asked him if he wanted Charlamagne. DJ Envy said no. Asked if they wanted Angela Yee. DJ Envy said no, but they got them anyway. And then now here we are today with what they're doing now. So DJ Envy was technically the first person to be like the head of the shit because he was like the well-known DJ. And then there was like Charlemagne, who had just came from like the Wendy show and was kind of notable. And then Yee, who was doing her shit, doing her own little radio spot over somewhere else. I think it was over at Sirius or something she was doing, or I forgot where she was doing her shit. But fucking yeah, that's yeah, that's how it came about. That's how it came about. But that's how I've always felt like that because of the turmoil. But the simple fact that like motherfuckers know how to work through that shit, I don't think that'll be a possibility for the Breakfast Club, because the Breakfast Club just, I mean, they do too well, and they know how to actually work together, and they know how to like keep their fucking personal shit off air. Like as far as like if they have personal problems, they know how to keep the show rolling. They wouldn't like do no weird shit. And if they had to keep, what this nigga say? He said, "Don't you sound like Maul now? Breakfast Club thriving, Black and Maul." Shut your bitch ass up. Hell no, hell no. I'm not finna do no Maul. No, I think, like I said, I think the Breakfast Club, I don't think that's finna happen. Like I used to just think that just based off of like the different shit, like the turmoil between, most importantly, between Charlemagne and Angela Yee. I think a lot of shit, and then I think the Gucci shit that happened with Angela Yee and Charlemagne, and I thought that shit was just gonna kind of lean everybody towards a point, because at that point Charlemagne's doing great in his career. He had a #1 selling book. He's doing all this other extra shit. If Charlemagne wants to, he can leave the Breakfast Club if he wanted to. We all know this, and I think because he knows that, he treats the Breakfast Club accordingly to how he could treat the Breakfast Club. Like you kind of see it during the show. Like he still, you could tell he still enjoys it. You can tell he still enjoys it. But he knows his position now. Charlemagne is out of here. He can go and do his own shit, but I think his first love is genuinely radio, and I think he genuinely enjoys doing that shit. So I don't think Charlemagne's going anywhere anytime soon. He talks about the fact that he wants to do radio as long as people like Howard Stern and shit, like no matter what he does in life. Because Howard Stern still does his radio show, but Howard Stern is, this nigga's out of here. His bank account, man, this nigga does everything. Howard Stern doesn't have to do another radio show a day in his life. But if that's your first love and that's what you like to do, you're going to continue to do that shit. And I don't think Charlemagne's going anywhere. I don't think DJ Envy's going anywhere. Nigga's name is DJ Envy. Like, of course, his first love is the radio. Angela Yee, being somebody who loves radio as well and doing her own radio show, her own podcast. It's just they're all three of them's genuine love for radio. They'll never go anywhere. And when you see the you know, somebody like Maul, you know, me and my guy Foo actually talked about this. Fooster Files. Me and him actually talked about this earlier. Maul and Rory put their foot in their mouth a lot when it came to like other people's business and everything. This is why what's happening now is kind of like one of those moments where you got to be like, yeah, Joe did some fucked up shit, but y'all niggas was saying a lot about other people's business and y'all didn't even know y'all own. And look at the position y'all in now. Like, they talked about the Breakfast Club being done. They talked about Andrew Schultz. They talked about fucking they talked about a lot of shit. They talked about $1 million worth of game. They talked about other people's business. They talked about act. They talked about people's business and they didn't know their own. And when and you clearly heard that from what they said in their response. They were asking for years for accountant, but they didn't get any accountant. Or accounting. Sorry, I'm high. I knew I said that wrong the first time, but the second time I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to say accountant again. But they were trying to get accounting for years, and they didn't get it. And they were wondering why every time they would ask for something as simple as accounting, they were getting met back with hostility from Joe. That is a red flag. No matter how you want to look at it, no matter whose side you on, no matter who you fuck with the most, that's wrong. But you know, take Jalen Rose and Chris Webber reunited on television today. Powerful. Together we strong. That really happened? I didn't see that. That's another thing I didn't see today. I told you I've been off social today, man. I took a nap and everything. I wanted to be ready and I wanted to be alert and I wanted to be talking to you motherfuckers during this show today. I didn't want to be all slumped and high and shit. I had to take a fucking nap like an old nigga. Yeah, see now, that's why, and that's another reason why DJ Academics was going so hard on them. Because Academics, like I said, whether you like Academics or not, Academics is in a position where he's the boss of his own shit. So he's looking at these two guys, which is why I said he began the narrative of them being employees, because he is in a position that he's the boss of what the fuck is going on. He said Meech, Mal, and Rory podcast. Meech, Mal, Rory, and Zoe podcast coming soon. Called the Dysfunctional Woke Niggas. I love those guys, man. Shout out to Meech. Shout out to Mal, Rory, and Zoe. I'm gonna have to look that video up. I didn't see that either. But like I said, man, I think this whole situation is ridiculous. I didn't expect it to end the way that it did end. I'm glad that Rory and Mal had a chance to rebuttal all the things that were being said, all the fuck shit, shit like that. Like, it's hard to see because you know the history behind it, but this is the business, man. This is what tends to happen a lot. Motherfuckers don't just end a whole platform that they built from the ground up, but they're ending friendships. I don't think these guys are going to be friends anytime soon. That's another thing. Like, that's one thing people don't understand. Like, Mal and Joe been friends for so long. This right here, to like separate them and not actually have them be cool, it's crazy. That's crazy to think about in real life. Like, fuck the camera shit, fuck the notoriety, the fame, and the money and shit. All those years of them, whatever they've been through, it took a podcast to be like, nah, we not fucking with each other no more. Nobody would have thought that would have happened. That nobody would have known. Like, that's what I'm saying. It's crazy. Zoe's super chats went down. What you mean? What you mean? Acno Rory was outside at the mailbox. He treated him like a Jehovah's Witness in the crib, quiet and scared. Rory, who I smoke. Rory, who I smoke. Mealy. I wanted to do that on my live today. I had to get that off. That shit was so funny. Money, the business. That's what I meant by the podcast. Podcast brought in a lot of money and a lot of opportunities, and that's what eventually broke the shit up. Lesson, man. It's a lesson in going into business with your friends, man. It's a lesson in going into business with your friends. Now, we don't know what's going to transpire from this. I know Rory and Mal said this is the last time they're speaking on it. I think they've deaded the conversation after this. There's definitely going to be some legal action behind all this. We going to see what the fuck happens as far as like the legal side of things. But I think for now, people are going to be pretty much done talking about it. Rory and Mal, I think, will have their own space to do a podcast maybe in the future, or just use their leverage and their name to continue to do what they've been doing in the industry. Because like I said, despite what people think, they do shit outside of the podcast. They don't just do the podcast. Like, they do shit outside the shit. So who knows, man? It would be dope if they did have their own podcast, because after watching what they did last night and listening to them, they can definitely pull off a podcast with them too, and what in the different subjects they want to talk about. I think that'll be, honestly, I think Rory and Mal have enough fans, and the fact that they've been trending for multiple days because of all of this and just generating new fans. And when you have a breakup, you ultimately choose sides. That's what we saw when it came down to the Corey and Zoe situation. Even with the 3G situation, motherfuckers seeing what the fuck was going on, shit broke apart, and people were choosing sides. Oh, this person wrong, that person wrong, and people went to their respective sides and, you know, supported who they wanted to support. I think in this instance, Rory and Mal are going to be able to do what they want to do. I think they're going to be able to do their podcast, and yeah, I think it's gonna work out for them. Ultimately, it's gonna work out for those guys. That's what I think. Extraordinary says he don't be getting them like he used to. Zoe be complaining that Jeff and Sarah be getting more than him. Oh, I haven't seen that. I watched a YouTube about them niggas who made that song Super Killers. Rory should do a diss track and bring Joe out of retirement. Joe will never come out of retirement with the money he making. The money he's making from doing podcasts, and I don't think Joe will ever record another song a day in his life. Joe's making bread. But anyway, man, look. Everybody in the chat, man, thank y'all so much for pulling up on me today, man. It was a really nice little episode, man. I couldn't wait to do this shit. You know I'm finna shout everybody's name out, so don't you go nowhere. If you watching this right now, hit the like button if you haven't already. Hit the bell so you get them notifications when I go live. Motherfucker, subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. We do these shows. I changed up the schedule, y'all, so it's going to be Monday, Wednesday, and motherfucking Friday. And then I'm going to choose which day on the weekend to do the show like I did today. I did it on a Sunday. Maybe I'll do it on a Saturday next week. Who knows? But pull up on me, man. Hit that bell. Hit the motherfucking bell. Hit the like. Hit the subscribe. Do that shit for me. If you haven't commented in the motherfucking chat, put a GMS in the chat right now. I'm going to shout y'all motherfucking names out, man. Also, you see what's on the screen. You know what's going on. That's GMS episode 1, 2, and 3 on your screen. And 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Y'all got to make sure y'all go get that, man. You can see that on my Bandcamp, or you can go to my motherfucking Instagram and hit my link tree, and all my links will be up there. My music, my motherfucking, the merch, all that shit. Oh yeah, and that's another thing, the merch, motherfucker. The motherfucking merch. We got to get to the merch page. That's important. I need y'all to do me a favor, man. If you want a motherfucking GMS jersey, you want a GMS shirt, you want a GMS rolling tray so you can roll your motherfucking trees up the right way, hit up my motherfucking website right here, the GMS shop. You can find that link in my link tree. It says merch. You can go look that shit up right now, man. You see that right there. GMS shirts, jerseys, rolling trays, man. Go get that shit. Now, I'm going to shout y'all motherfucking names out because you know I fucks with y'all heavy. Let me see them GMSs in the chat, baby. GMS is in the chat. GMS, what's up? Hey, shout out to Taya Hansen, my niece. What's happening? Shout out to Queen Kels. Shout out to King Lukey. Shout out to JG. Shout out Bianca. Hey, shout out Black Man America. Shout out Jay Monte. Shout out to Raven Smith. Spank Low Pimpin'. Hey. Shout out to Gold, a.k.a. Anthony M. the Professor. Shout out my nigga Fooster Files, Big Brosif. Shout out Extraordinary Regular Nigga. That sound like some shit E40 was saying in one of his raps. Extraordinary Regular Nigga, ooh. Shout out to Daryl Hendry. We in here. Hey, shout out to Arius. Appreciate y'all so much, man. GMS squad. Tune in tomorrow evening. I will be on around 4 p.m. 4 or 5 p.m. Tune in. It's going to be a wonderful show. I might open the Zoom. I might not. I don't know. Who knows? We'll see what's going on. We'll see what's popping. But we going to talk about some shit. Y'all have a good night, y'all. Stay blessed. Roll up. GMS.